Good games make you think, make you reflect, and still have fun, and not feel bad about spending time playing. I think it's kind of a cheap trick to go for addiction. I think it's always also like about escaping, like to kind of getting into somewhere else, to kind of getting your mind intensively on something else, getting into this mood of focusing and challenging yourself. I think also the challenge part is there just because when we are challenged and when we have the goal, we are more intensely focused.
There's been a tendency over the past couple decades in mainstream games to make everything bigger, make everything more realistic, just to kind of amp up everything.
Big games have other goals. They want to entertain you. They want to get 10 million people playing at the same time. But indie games, it's like frequently one person who says, I want a game to be like this. I want a game to be about this special thing.
Independent games are any game that a small team or an individual creator worked on to their own vision, something that they just felt like making and coding and finishing.
It's easy for me to define myself as one because I'm just one guy, and that's pretty independent. I think essentially it's someone who doesn't obviously have a publisher. It can be a team, but people mention sort of the size of the team, and I think maybe between 8 and 16 is probably the highest you'll ever want to go before you can't really call yourself independent anymore, because you kind of, and I suppose as indie game developer and indie game studio.
我觉得 indie 的定义并不是在于人数的多少，而是在于这个想法是不是你们这一群做游戏的人的想法。我觉得区别 indie 和 commercial game 最大的区别是在于你这个游戏是不是特意去迎合市场，是不是有那些 publisher 他们给你钱，然后他们是靠这个游戏赚钱，所以你的这个游戏的目的是为了赚钱。而我觉得 indie 游戏的话是说我喜欢玩这种类型的游戏，我想做一款这样的游戏去满足那些同样喜欢玩这种类型游戏的人，就从这种 motivation 上是不一样的。所以我觉得确实陈星汉他的游戏也叫 indie， 是因为那是他自己想做的游戏。
I would say that usually in indie games there's a very strong, like the person who has done it usually works in a very small team, and there has been a very clear idea, very clear vision what the game is about. Like you can feel that there's passion in the game, that there's something is very strong there, that you can feel that somebody was very enthusiastic about what they did.
I want to create something that I can call mine. I think I was getting a bit tired of making other people's games, making a lot of really bad games for people because that's what some client wanted, and they didn't want to sort of investigate anything. They just wanted a Bejeweled clone, or they just want this, but with a rebrand.
就是从小特别喜欢玩游戏，从小学的时候接触就玩那种小霸王，然后后来接触电脑，然后就一直就玩各种游戏，仙剑啊，国内的这种 RPG， 还有就是一些国外的 RPG， 像《博德之门》，还有《大航海》，对，我那时候超级喜欢玩《大航海》，跟别人一起交流分享，就游戏带给来这种快乐。Braid 我当时是大2的时候玩的，大2的时候我当时是从晚上10点钟开始接触到这款游戏，一直把它打到凌晨7点钟，把它全部打完了。当时我觉得这款游戏真的是神作，就后来我就去搜了一下那些作者，然后看了他的一些事情，然后也是从那时候开始，我就突然觉得做游戏可以不用是一个大的 studio。 目前来说做的最不错的应该是，我觉得很喜欢是那个牙，是 Bud， 那个很独特是吧？
对。
那个其实是在上海参加一次 Game Jam 的时候做出来的，有 Game Jam 这个项目，然后就到那里临时找团队，它会有一个主题，然后大家就 brainstorming， 完了以后就跟别人交流你的想法，如果就开始组队了嘛，然后大家就组成一个团队，然后2天之内把一个游戏原型开发出来。那个是比较 experimental 的，就是其实是想表达一些东西，但是因为时间太紧 Game Jam 嘛，所以没有特别好的传达出来。因为那次 Game Jam 的主题是心跳，然后想表达的一种东西就是用心跳来表示对人生的一种追求，就是你能听到它，所以你觉得它一直很近。然后你也能看到它，就是那个白球，走到白球，游戏就结束了，就是你已经达到你心里想要的，那个是你心跳的来源。然后，但是你想走到它的话，因为整个迷宫是会旋转的，所以说你想走到它其实挺困难的。然后在很多过程中，你需要去碰壁，然后当你一旦碰了壁的时候，就会有一束粒子发射向那个白球，指引你，其实那才是你真正应该走的方向。但是因为时间关系，然后还有很多技术上限制，所以做成现在的这个半成品。
I think the first game I attempted to make, I was about 8 or 9, and I had an Amiga 500, which you guys probably don't remember, but they were like mid-80s sort of, kind of a computer, but not really a computer, kind of, but they had BASIC, Microsoft BASIC, so that was sort of my first venture. I was in my final year of graduate degree, and I had my dissertation to do, and I just wanted a break from it, so I spent 2 weeks making as many games as I could in 2 weeks. And I realized I could probably actually kind of do this. Surely there's like, because it was just Flash games back then, people surely pay for this. So then I just started setting up applications with these games that I made in those couple of weeks, and over the next few months when I wasn't sort of doing any final year work, I'd make other games. I think Thief is my favourite game of all time. Thief 2, The Metal Age, I think, was the best. I'm kind of a bit of a stealth nut, so it's Thief, it's Metal Gear Solid, just all those sort of games. I suppose I just like sneaking around and stabbing people in the back or something like that for some reason. So indie games, my favourite game of last year was either Faster Than Light, FTL, that was really good, or Hotline Miami, that was really fun. That was just silly. They were probably my 2 favourites from last year. I played the first few Call of Duties, but by this second Modern Warfare one, I was kind of slightly bored of it. Though I like the sniper ones; they were pretty good. I mean, they have their place; they sell millions, and they're the sort of the Michael Bay, like massive Hollywood blockbuster sort of Transformer-style movies that make loads of money and keep loads of people in jobs, and they do their thing and they do it really well. But it's not really so much something I'm interested in personally, either to play games or make games at the moment. I'd say any computer game out there, there'll be a majority of people that won't like it. I mean, Call of Duty, it sells millions, but I'm pretty sure there's also millions on top of that would never play it. So yeah, there'd be plenty of people that the game I'm making, it's not for them. But I think that's just sort of the game where you've got like such a broad sort of genre of games now. And because of the internet and because distribution mediums are sort of broken down, you can kind of really go for really niche games. So like these old adventure games and turn-based games that like 10 years ago you wouldn't be able to make because the publisher wouldn't be able to touch them. Now you can put up your Kickstarter and get your funding and then sell it, because you can reach that niche audience very, very efficiently now. There wasn't any sort of communication before.
Well, target audience is probably in the head of the one indie designer who makes games. And especially when the game is something that you think you have a very strong idea, that you think that you like so much, that it must be that every single other person in the world likes as well, because it's so unique, so special. So then the kind of the projected target audience, that's something that you have in the back of your head, is probably quite large. But at the same time, I think indie developers are very humble, so that they don't dare to think too much, like that they still target for quite small audiences in the end. Like they don't dare to go very big.
现在做独立游戏的人太多了，所以现在其实做独立游戏很难，因为做独立游戏的人也太多了，各种很独特的游戏也太多了。但是因为独立游戏是一个人做的，所以质量其实良莠不齐。所以现在有2种策略，一般来说，第一个呢就是你做一款针对某一种很 narrow 的一群玩家的 hardcore 的游戏，只有那群玩家才喜欢玩，但是他们特别疯狂。然后还有一个就是做的就像 Candy Crush 这样，要很 addictive 的，然后大家都很容易上手，大家都可能会拿上来玩2下。
It's really art. It's like an artist practice that you are somewhere working alone for many months, and then you come up with something, and I think it's very demanding for those people. If you have the resources, and if you enjoy working on a game for 5 years, like who is anybody else to say anything if that's how you want to kind of spend your life, and if that's your dream. And if there is this potential that in the end you really come up with something that makes other people happy, make them think differently, maybe, just contribute something to the society, I think that's fantastic that somebody's willing to be so devoted and believe so much in something that they have in their own head. But of course, it's a huge challenge emotionally, psychologically, in so many different ways.
Fez isn't any indication of how long a game should take, though. He took far too long on that, and I think he'll be the first to admit it. It took far too long to get out, and that was for a majority of reasons, of which I am suffering from the same thing. It's difficult, but if you stay motivated, you stick to the plan, then you should be fine. I think having a plan and knowing where you're going really helps you get through, because it is incredibly easy to start making a computer game, and it only gets harder as it goes on. Like, I think it's very true in computer game development. I think software development in general, that the first 90% of the work takes 10% of the time, and then the last 10% takes 90% of the time. It's not really that. It's like actually this curve. So the more work you get done, the more work you have to put in to get it done. So it gets harder and harder, definitely. And certainly in the middle, you kind of can feel like you're lost. You haven't begun anything. You're not anywhere near ending anything. So you kind of feel like you're in a desert. But you just got to stay motivated. You got to stay disciplined. You got to stay positive, and you've got to have a plan. And then you'll get through the desert. I think it can be an art. I don't aim to make anything specifically artful. I want it to have a certain voice, but I don't really go out there to make some sort of, like, this is art, like, look at me, I'm Jonathan Blow sort of thing, my game is amazing. I want to make something, I kind of suppose I see myself more of going towards entertainment, and I want to make something that people really enjoy playing, that people really kind of get engaged in, and kind of they just lose time. Like that whole Minecraft thing of just one more block. That's what I kind of want to make, something that you're just addicted to, basically. That's sort of my aim as a game maker. The toughest thing is being your own boss. Having a boss is like makes things quite a bit easier because you don't have to worry about the next day. You just get told what to do. That's sort of probably the hardest job I'd say I have to fill, being boss. Because other jobs, like I'm a programmer by heart and by sort of abilities. So art isn't really sort of my field, but you can kind of, things like that, you can kind of just sort of do what you do best in that. I do a couple of things pretty well. I just haven't found anyone that I would join a team with, and that, you know, we're both looking to make similar games. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like I could make the game myself, and it would be like, you know, it's my own little sort of thing that I can be megalomaniac about and say is mine.
最大的困难就是我不会画画，所以我得找人合作，我得找美术。一个人做游戏太辛苦太累了。一个人有一个人的好处，一个人的好处就是这款游戏完全是你的，你不需要跟别人妥协，但是你能做到的就很有限。如果是一个团队的话，你必然会两个人想法不一样，必然要妥协，这个游戏就变成是你们两个共同的想法一种妥协物。但是因为他的技能如果能够互补你们两个人做出来更大的东西，你一个人做不出来的东西，你们两个人可以做出来。我觉得从我自身来说，我觉得我还年轻吧，就应该多去体验体验。所以我这次想去美国，就是想再去见识见识。就是大公司他们有自己的一套运作方式，他们有成功，必然有他们可以借鉴的地方。然后小的indie他们成功也必然有他们的地方。不管怎么样，我不是很 care 我以后一定是在做indie还是在做游戏，但是我 care 的是这个游戏它是不是好玩，因为你不能说 commercial 的 game 它就不好玩。我想可以的话在那边工作几年，就不一定是要进大游戏公司，我可能也会去做indie，有机会也会想自己开一家游戏公司。
My current plan so I've got a game I'm making, and it's stumbling quite badly at the moment, and I'm just trying to sort of work out how to move forward with that. While I'm doing that, I actually have 2 pieces of software for computer games, making and developing and trying to sell. I'm just trying to get them into a position as well, so that they would fund not actually having a full-time job. So that's sort of my immediate plan. I have 4 months or 5 months until I have a baby, so I need to try and get as much of my game done before then. And then I have a baby, and I have no idea how much that is going to affect my ability to make my games. So I'm kind of counting on me just having maybe 2 hours a day or something ridiculous like that afterwards. But apart from that, so then I'd leave Hong Kong, go back to England. But yeah, just try and get the first game out, basically. That's sort of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to scale it back so that maybe I can have something ready after 4 months before the baby. Because, I mean, I would say that is my hard deadline. Once the baby's born, it's game over, right? Yeah. It's game over for like the amount of time I have to develop when I'm looking after a baby.
I think there will be more because much younger people today learn skills such as programming or game making. There are all these workshops and programs already in primary and secondary schools where you can make your own game. So, of course, then that contributes to the idea that anybody can make a game. You can easily make that. There are very easy to use tools right now that anybody can use for making games. It's just about how people get to know about those games. That's the challenge. Like if you make your little game and it's perfect, if you don't have the right connections, if you are not in the United States, in the right place at the right time, it's really, it might be, for example, from Hong Kong context, quite difficult to make it visible.
香港整体大环境来说，我觉得不是很对做游戏并不是很好，而且它成本也很高，香港生活成本很高嘛， 其实你真正做游戏、做独立游戏的话，要选一个生活成本低的地方。其实很明显，一个就是消费上的习惯嘛，就是你看现在国内大家愿意花80块钱、90块钱去看2个小时的电影，但是不愿意花80块钱、90块钱买一套正版游戏，是吧？这么游戏能带给他的娱乐时间肯定超过2个小时。国内现在做游戏是赚钱，为了赚钱的多，真正做 indie 的 studio 不是特别多，但是也有几家现在已经还蛮不错的。国内其实在改善，我觉得以后会变好。而且越来越多的人开始想自己应该怎样做游戏，而不是把游戏当做一种职业。其实国内现在从3个方面来说，我感觉在程序这一块其实有很多非常好的程序员了，可以跟国际上的程序员相媲美，但是策划这块太弱了。策划你得懂这个东西程序做不做得到，你得懂美术完成这个东西的工作量该是有多大。就是目前我觉得程序员和程序员和策划之间沟通起来挺有障碍的，就是程序员会不懂策划到底想干什么。
I'd say the biggest advice I have at the moment is keep the scope low. I keep falling into this trap because I think anyone who wants to make games wants to make these big sort of Metal Gear Solids or something. You just kind of have a big vision because you want this living, breathing world and you kind of want to build this massive thing. And you've got to realize that you just can't do that. Certainly as one person, you can't even get anywhere near that. So keeping the scope, cutting down the scope and then cutting it down more and more and more. And sort of as Einstein said, you need to make everything as simple as possible but not simpler. Kind of makes sense. You've got to try and boil it down. Whenever you think about adding some sort of feature or something, just say no. Just make the core game. Once you've got that made, then you can maybe make it next time. That's my key advice. The other thing would be always have something to do, always know what you're doing. Don't think I kind of have to do this today. I should be making the AI system. You should know what part of the AI system you're making today. You should have a very clear idea of what you're making and also why you're making it. Else you'll just get bogged down very quickly in doing nothing. Busy work almost, even though you feel like you're doing loads of work. 2 weeks down the line, you'll have done nothing because it's for something that you shouldn't have ever been.